Page 87. Now this author says that you, let's see, I think he says someplace where you sing the Benedictus before the consecration. However, I've seen other authors say that you do it after the consecration, and I think it was John the 23rd that said you do it before the consecration. This is long before John the 23rd. But the traditional way in this country, anyway, was to sing the Benedictus after the consecration. So we said that you can't sing anything in the vernacular during a solemn mass or a missa cantata. You can do it before or after. In a low mass, you may sing, have sung, or the choir may sing vernacular hymns. That's permitted at a low mass, as long as they're not a distraction. That they have to be at the right time. So it is permissible, however, according to the custom of the Roman Church, to sing a motet to the Blessed Sacrament after the Benedictus in a solemn Mass. It is also permitted after the offertory prescribed for the Mass has been sung, the offertory verse, to execute during the time that remains a brief motet to words approved by the Church. So typically, yes, during the offertory you hear motets being sung, of course, in Latin. The liturgical text must be sung as it is in the books, without alteration or inversion of the words, without undue repetition, without breaking syllables, and always in a manner intelligible to the faithful who listen. With regard to the organ and other instruments, the decree says, as the chant should always have the principal place, the organ or instruments should merely sustain and never oppress it. So you don't want to make the organ louder than the choir singing the chant. So at times for occidens, you might want the organ to be singing louder than the choir. Just press down that volume pedal when things get a little rough. But ordinarily not. It is not permitted to have the chant preceded by long preludes or to interrupt it with intermezzo pieces. The employment of the piano is forbidden in church, as is also that of loud-sounding or lighter instruments such as drums, cymbals, bells, and the like. Yes?
What about organs with chimes? They're fairly common, especially in the U.S. Tubular chimes, usually.
That probably doesn't fall under this. The general principle is you can't have a percussion instrument.
But it's a tubular chime that's been hit by a hammer inside the organ.
Percussion is forbidden. That's why the piano is forbidden. The other instruments are permitted according to as the ordinary permits. So flutes, violins, etc., all those things, even trumpets and so forth. But cymbals, drums, bells, and yes.
So that would be an abuse that they had that here in the U.S. with chimes and organs.
Yes,
it's very common.
But it is custom contrary to law is practically the law. There's things happen, and nobody says anything, and then it becomes a custom, and well, we've always done it that way. I mean, liturgical practice is a little fluid, you might say. Yeah.
Sorry, Your Excellency. So he's saying that with the organ, there's a pipe that gets hit?
There's a stop for chimes, yes, on some organs.
Okay, but what about in a way, a bell. I mean, the little ringer in the middle, that hits the side of something. I mean, but that's not forbidden, right?
It's not a musical instrument, though.
A bell isn't? I mean,
What bell are you talking about?
just bells in general. I thought they were instruments.
They're not musical instruments.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So don't forget, this is talking about the universal church. So you get, for example, the masses done in Austria, Mozart masses. I think that they use the drums and everything. It'd be very hard to do any of those Haydn or Mozart masses. I think they had some sort of special indult or something, because they continue to do that. In Haydn's Mass in Time of War and the Agnus Dei, the Dona Nobis Pacem, there's a big drum roll. That sounds like a cannon. So it is strictly forbidden to have bands play in church, and only in special cases with the consent of the ordinary will it be permissible to admit a number of wind instruments, limited, well selected, and proportioned to the size of the place, provided the composition and the accompaniment are in a grave and suitable style, and similar in all respects to that proper to the organ. So you can use string instruments, woodwinds, that's a flute, oboe, a bassoon, etc., trumpets. You can use those according to the permission of the ordinary. In processions outside the church, the ordinary may give permission for a band, which was common, provided no profane pieces are played. It would be desirable in such cases that the band confine itself to accompanying some spiritual canticle sung in Latin, or it should be in the vernacular. It should be. The length of the liturgical chant is thus described. It is not lawful to keep the priest at the altar waiting on account of the chant or the music for a length of time not allowed by the liturgy. So, if it's a minute or something like that, it's not terrible, but you shouldn't have the priest waiting in order to do the Paternoster because you're singing some huge motet that takes forever. I think the one by Tallis takes something like 20 minutes. Something in Allium. What is it? Something in Allium. But that big with the 8-part motet. No, 40 parts. 5 choirs times 8. It calls for 40 parts. Spem in Allium. Yes. And that was a response to the Italians who said that the English do not know how to do polyphony. So he did 40, nobody ever did that. 5 choirs times 8 parts each. It is when you hear it performed on a disc or whatever. It is a very powerful piece. So you have to find the right time to do that. According to the ecclesiastical prescriptions of the Sanctus of the Mass, the Sanctus of the Mass should be over before the elevation. Although the priest too should have regard for the singers. All right, so he shouldn't go into the consecration while they're singing, for example, because of his impatience. The Gloria and Credo ought, according to the Gregorian tradition, to be relatively short. But again, there's some big credos, some of those Haydn, Mozart, other credos. There's a lot of music written during the Renaissance and during the Baroque period, classical period, that are quite long. In general, it must be considered a grave abuse when the liturgy in ecclesiastical functions is made to appear secondary to and in a manner at the service of the music, for the music is merely a part of the liturgy and should be its humble handmaid. So it shouldn't be a performance, so to speak. Finally, the Pope calls upon the bishops to institute commissions for church music, admonishes all ecclesiastical schools and persons concerned to promote these prudent reforms, and expresses the wish that, at least in the principal churches, the ancient scholae cantorum be restored. Yes?
Did the reforms of the council change these music laws, or do people just not care to follow them?
Which council?
Vatican II.
Oh. Music laws?
Well, I remember my
How about Lady Madonna?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. In my Novus Ordo parish, we had a mass in the gymnasium. I had a band with drums and
Oh,
everything.
everything just, all hell broke loose after Vatican II. There were no rules at all. You could, the folk masses, and that was the first thing. That was back in the 60s, I remember it. Mm-hmm. And it's odd because, in New York City, there's not a lot of folk music. And these people would come in, singing things from, the campfire out in West or something like that in Brooklyn, New York. And I never heard this music. What is it? This doesn't relate to me, in the concrete jungle. We don't hear that kind of stuff. But they were singing that, and then the Beatles came in, and then all sorts of, then the Negro spirituals came in, and amen, and then swing low, sweet chariot, that was another one. Yeah, all the Protestant stuff came in. There was all the Anglican hymns, which were not unorthodox, but they were Protestant. They were Protestant. Oh, and then Mighty Fortress is Our God, which was written by Martin Luther, and it was the theme song for all of the revolutions in Germany during the Reformation. Yeah, we sang that all the time. That was in the seminary. That was an old standard. Yes.
When did you first have to suffer the kumbaya?
Kumbaya. Oh, we sang that a lot. Kumbaya. I could probably sing it for you. We sang that a lot. That was a big one. And see, it was all because that was during the civil rights time, and so everything was, was black stuff, and various. I mean, it just, the only term for it is all hell broke loose. I mean, there were no rules at all.
Well, I suppose what I meant is, did they actually change these laws though, or did they just stop observing them?
I don't know. I don't think Vatican II talked about music. I don't think so. I think they probably left it up to the ordinaries or had some sort of motu proprio or something like that, where it gives typical Vatican language where we should adapt ourselves to the the needs of the times, and that whereas Gregorian chant is a wonderful, wonderful thing, but we have to be open to other things, and typical Novus Ordo Vatican gobbledygook garbage, like that thing that came out recently. We're not changing anything. We're not changing anything, but you can do this. He's still trying to defend it. He said the other day, Africa is a special case for this, as if they don't belong to the universal church, as if it's immoral in Africa, but it's not immoral every place else. I mean, if that isn't racism, I don't know what is. I mean, why are they different? But that was the latest thing. The day before, he said we're only blessing individuals. This was about 2 or 3 days ago. He's still getting repercussions from it. Yes.
So there's one recording of the Te Deum online in English to the Latin chant melody. It sounds so bad.
Yes, they did that. They translated the propers and they sang them according to Gregorian melodies. They did that for a while, and it just sounds awful. And fortunately, they had the wisdom to stop doing that. You still hear it once in a while. It's awful. It's just awful. It's just not, the whole rhythm of the language is it's just awful. So, the motu proprio of Pius X has not been superseded by the Code, for Canon 2 plainly states that the liturgical laws are not touched by the Code unless expressly corrected by it. Church music is part of the liturgy, although we should beware of stressing the Tridentine canons to such an extent that a breach of these rules would be considered a sin against the faith. You see, so the rules of the sacred liturgy are very, very important. For the canon quoted in favor of certain musical regulations has nothing absolutely to do with church music, but with the administration of the sacraments in general. So we beware of stressing the Trinity canon. In other words, it would not be a sin against the faith; it would just be a disobedience to do something that was particularly condemned by the motu proprio. But again, there was an awful lot of custom contrary to law, which at a certain point becomes law, actually, at least becomes permitted. Law is only as good as its enforcement. Otherwise, it's a dead letter. So the Vesperale is a cloth which is used to cover the entire mensa of the altar when not in use. It must not be left on the altar during Mass. It is not prescribed, nor is the material or color determined. Van der Stappen suggests linen or silk as its material. Martinucci proposes green, but never black as its color. So most of the time it's the velvet, and that doesn't matter too much. Vestments. Amices made from a mixture of cotton and linen are forbidden. There's a lot of mixture of cotton and linen now out there. Novus Ordo doesn't care. So make sure that you get 100% linen when you order all of anything to do, like albs, purificators, corporals, all of those things should be linen. Right? 100% linen. The cords of the amice need not be linen, but may be silk. What is typically used is grosgrain ribbon. Silk would be too slippery; it would probably come apart. You have to watch that. You know, those shiny ribbons and all. You virtually cannot find silk ribbon. The only place you can find silk ribbon is in Italy, and Gamarelli won't tell me where to get it. They have some source for silk ribbon. But again, silk is a thing almost of the past. Now they do silk blends with some cloths, but to get pure silk, India is putting out an immense amount of silk. Pure silk, 100% silk. India. But in many cases, it looks like you can tell it's from India in the sense that their decorations are looks like Hindu temple stuff, you know, you just know right away this is from India, and it just doesn't go. Some of it is not like that. Some of it is pretty good. There's a website, if ever you need it. There's a website called New York Designer Fabrics. If ever you need it, they have all sorts of stuff like that, and they send you swatches for $1 or something, $1.25. They send you swatches. So if you're looking for cloth or something like that. Then there's always La May in New York, too. They have ecclesiastical cloth. But there's a lot of places to order. It is not necessary that they be white. Red may be used, but typically that is reserved for bishops and prelate, monsignori, and things like that. So don't use any red ribbons. They should be long enough to reach around the body twice and be tied in front. And you have to think, if you have a portly priest, that you might want to make them a little longer. right? A plus size priest. That's what they call them now. Plus size. The size of the amice has not been mathematically determined. Van der Stappen, that's the reference, gives as size 26 by 36. Okay, so 26 is about 2 feet. 36 is about this big. So there would be 26 by 36. The only decoration prescribed by the rubrics for the amice is a small cross in the middle. Authors do not agree as to what is meant in the middle. The cross should be visible for the rubrics. For the rubrics direct the celebrant to kiss the amice at the cross before vesting with it. The cross may be stitched in with red or some other color. If you use red, make sure it doesn't run, otherwise you'll have a pink amice when it comes out of the wash. You have to use some sort of something that doesn't run. Okay? And it never comes out again. The only thing to do with that is throw it away. The amice, except for the edge around the collar, may be ornamented with beautiful needlework. Which would never really be seen. I don't know why you would do it. The alb must be made only of linen and from no other material. Albs made from a mixture of linen and cotton are forbidden.
Are they talking about the lace? They make cotton lace, polyester lace, linen lace, all kinds of lace.
That doesn't, to get linen lace now, almost impossible. You're happy if you can get cotton lace. Synthetic lace falls apart. Never get synthetic lace. Nylon or any of those laces just fall apart. All right. The alb should be of such a size as to cover the entire civil dress. I don't know why he says that, but that means your cassock. And extend down to within an inch from the floor. See to it that the alb hangs evenly all around at the hem. So you have to look around and pull it up and adjust it accordingly. You should have a big mirror in the sacristy so everybody can look and see if it's correct. Right? There's nothing worse than a priest that comes out with that alb all over the place. And by the way, the cassock is the word for the cassock in Latin is tunica talaris, which means the tunic that comes down to your heels. So there's in some countries they have a custom of wearing a cassock as they're waiting for the floodwaters. In other words, it's practically up to their caps, or you you can see their socks, shoes, and everything. There's some France, for example, they wear short cassocks, but that's the tunica talaris. So it goes almost to the floor. So. No ornamentation is prescribed for the alb. It may be enriched with fine stitching at the hem and the cuffs. I guess that means at the bottom or something like that. In the cuffs, yes. So it's Van der Stappen. Albs made of lace or netting from the cincture down can be tolerated. So that's only tolerated. In such materials, figures, let's see again, like, what else would you wear? In such materials, figures of crosses, ostensoria, angels, etc. may be represented. So something sacred usually, but many times it's not even sacred, it's just flowers, it's just lace. Moreover, material of some other color may be used as a background for the netting at the ends of the sleeves and at the hem. So the idea of putting something inside is also apparently permitted, and so it makes the alb look better. For example, even just a black interior lining on a lace alb makes it look better than just your cassock. because it's right up against it. But you don't have to have that, but you can. It's common in Spain. Of some other color, no. That would be interesting to research. What other color? Orange? It's pretty open. The cincture, the SRC, does not condemn cinctures made of silk, but you shouldn't get them because, again, they would be slippery, but states that it is more becoming to use those made of linen. The ones made of polyester, which is also typical now, do tend to be slippery. So the natural fiber is better. The cincture should be of sufficient length as to enable the celebrant to double it around the waist and to tie the stole in place with its ends. Again, you have to think of the plus-size priests. Right? A narrow band does not take the place of a cincture, whatever a narrow band is, and its use is forbidden. Probably like a belt. You never know what priests get into their heads. I've seen a lot, let's put it that way. This cincture may be of the same color as that of the vestments, but it doesn't have to be. I remember reading someplace, though, that the black was forbidden, but apparently, I mean, it's not so, but I recall reading that, but again, that could be an author thing. So, this fellow is good that he gives the SRC numbers, but sometimes they get things into their heads, and they speak them as if they are, the Roman authorities. This should not be done, and so you have to, if there's not an SRC or some other thing, then you have to check others and see if it's just an author opinion. The material from which, and this is interesting, from which the maniple, stole, and chasuble should be made is not directly determined by the rubrics. It seems to me he just said, though, that it should be silk. In any case, they should be whole, clean, and beautiful. By way of exclusion, however, we can know what materials may and may not be used, which is nice and vague. All right, so again, the silk is to be preferred. Cloth of gold is okay as long as it's true cloth of gold. See, that means there is an actual gold thread, not some of these plastic things, like kind of cheap things.
So, Your Excellency, the chasubles we have, do you know what their underlying structure is made of? I'm wondering because
there's probably about 30 or 40 of them.
For example, the one that you had today, it was quite. I wonder this because some of them are very. When you're a server and you have to elevate it,
yeah,
it's
there's a stiffening inside. All chasubles, Roman style chasubles, take a stiffening inside.
What exactly causes that, though? Do you know the material, maybe?
Yeah, it's just, I forget what the interlining they call it. Yeah, there's various kinds. Some are stronger than others. Some are tougher, more stiffer than others. So it depends on the cloth you're using.
Yes.
This what they call the face cloth. What you're using, but really all of it. The stole should get it. The maniple should get it on those traditional, let's say, Baroque style vestments. So there's French style, German style, and Roman style. Spanish style too. Those are what you call I'm going to call them Baroque style vestments. In Gothic, you want to be as floppy as possible. You'll never see them around here. Right. Vestments made entirely of linen, cotton, or wool are forbidden. Linen, cotton, and wool may be used for the manufacture of vestments, but only in a minor quantity and under the side of the fabric, on the underside of the fabric. So lining, for example, you could line it. The outer side of the cloth should be silk. Vestments should be made of precious cloth, silk, gold, etc. So again, with all the changes in the textile industry, I would say it's legitimate to use any kind of precious cloth if it looks very nice. I think I told you I saw a cut velvet green for $500 a yard the other day on the internet. Beautiful. That means it's $2,000 before you start.
Your Excellency, regarding chasubles, we may have covered this already, but I've either forgotten or maybe we haven't, but images, are there any regulations regarding putting an image? I've seen ones of our Lord and Our Lady, but I'm wondering if you can put other saints on a chasuble or if that's regulated.
It's a canonized saint. I don't see why not. I've seen them. I mean, you see, I've seen it. Again, might be extra legend outside of the law. What's that?
Your Excellency, can you put a very holy country on a chasuble like France?
That's what I saw in a picture. It was at a sort of one of these meetings where they what is it? Oh, I forget the name of it, but La Pensée Française, which means French thought. And so it's like the John Birch Society of France. And they come in and most of it is whining about how horrible the Republic is. So they have all these speakers and they all get up and say the same thing every year, that the Republic is damnable and despicable. And it's all rotten and it stinks. And then everybody claps. And then they have Mass and they get an SSPX priest to say the Mass. And one year he had a chasuble on with the map of France on the back. I never saw it again. I get their email every year. They have it in July or August, their meeting. I never saw that appear again. So I was kidding the French priest. Wouldn't it be nice to have the United States on the back? But that runs very, very strong in the French, all that stuff. It's so whatever, and that's France. So no, I think as a canonized saint, I think you could, and just most of the time it's Our Lord or Our Lady. So the lining, number 127, the lining is up for grabs. You can put anything, even of a different color. And oftentimes it is of a different color. You don't want a lining that is too slippery, though, like satin. You should avoid, because then the chasuble is moving all over you. Liturgical colors, they are black, violet, white, red, green, and rose color. The last mentioned color is used only on Gaudete and Laetare Sundays. There was a question to the SRC, could you use them on the ferial days within those weeks? No. The ferial Lenten, come out of rose vestments because it's part of the same week. No, you can't, only on Sunday. And you may use also violet if you don't have rose. I'm about to order a full set of rose, the whole thing, the 3 copes, everything, because I can't stand the rose we have. Did I leave them down there? Did I leave that set down there?
Rose solemn set? No,
Yes.
I think we have that up here.
I'm going to sell it on eBay. But there's this fellow in California. It's a really nice color. It's a white color. It should be a dusty rose color, not cotton candy pink. Yellow colored vestments are forbidden. That means somebody tried it. So if, however, the predominant part of the material is gold, they may be used. So sometimes you have a lot of gold that is woven into what you would call a gold color. That's okay. If the predominant thing is gold. But there's some gold that isn't really gold. In the sense that it's cheap. Blue vestments are forbidden except in Spain. I think that's only Spain, but again, did the colonies take it over too? I don't know. I don't think they use them in Mexico though. I don't think so. But in any case, if you're in Spain, you can use a blue vestment. Vestments of gold may be used only in place of red, white, and green. So not purple, obviously, and not black. Silver vestments may be used only in place of white. Interesting. I think I've seen silver cloth. Yeah. Those vestments are forbidden in which the colors are so mixed that as a result, the principal and predominant color is not recognizable.
Yes. Do they have cloth of silver?
It's not very common. I'm just trying to think if I ever saw it. I don't think I ever did, but I've seen silvery vestments, but it's kind of vague. So that's it. You can have a lot of decoration and all, but there has to be a predominant color, and it has to be recognizable. See, so it can't be just such a salad of stuff that you don't know what color it is. So be careful of that. The only ornamentation required by the rubrics for the maniple and stole is a cross. The cross should be in the middle for the rubrics. So here and here, up here. For the rubrics, direct the celebrant to kiss the cross in the middle. So again, he kisses the stole, he kisses the maniple. Martinucci prescribes 3 crosses for each, besides the one in the middle, 1 at each end. So by custom, 1 at each end of this stole, and at least on the outside of the maniple. Sometimes you don't see them on the inside. At least on the outside of the maniple. That's custom, at least. The Greek form of the cross is used. Does everyone know the difference between a Greek and a Latin cross? You don't.
No, I do.
You do. Anyone not know? Okay. I think you know, but you don't know. No. The fringe at the end of the maniple and stole may be of silk or gold and about 3 inches wide. The ornamentation of the chasuble is not directly determined. In Rome, it is customary to ornament the front portion of the chasuble with a cross and the back with a column. See, so the Roman chasuble does have a cross on it, but if you see the whole thing, this is the front, and then this is the back. See, and then there's the hole in the middle. So this has, if you notice on the Roman, there's your cross, and on the back is the column. That's the Roman style. It tends to be wider. The French style has the cross on the back, and it's thinner. And it just has a column in the front. The German style looks similar to this, except that it has a hole that you can't get your head through. The French style has an open thing here. So you have like there's just a hole in the German style. And sometimes you can't get your head through it. You have to take your glasses off in any case. All right. So, but it looks very much like that. The Spanish style has the back that is. We have a few Spanish styles, and it looks like that, where it's heavy at the bottom and thin at the top. They're very good for traveling. They fold nicely. There's not much bulk to them. They're thin. Spanish style. And their pieces are very thin too. That's the maniple and stole. Thin. So. Okay. No white crosses or images of the dead may be represented on black vestments. So you can't put skulls and crossbones and skeletons on black vestments. I've seen them, and some of them not in our, but I've seen pictures of them. So that must have been somebody who was doing that. Figures of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Sacred Heart of Mary, that's what they used to call the Immaculate Heart of Mary, when combined or separate, may not be used to decorate the chasuble unless they are represented with the person. The use of the coat of arms is not forbidden. It is generally placed at the foot of the cross or column. So it would be on the Roman chasuble down here. They would embroider typically for bishops his coat of arms down here. Images in oil or in oil on silk, silver, or gold vestments are allowed. You do see sometimes little paintings on vestments. Not so much in this country. Materials other than silk may be used in the decoration of the vestments. So various crosses and other things that you would put on it. The galloon. Galloon is the banding. It's not as a galloon.